What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Big Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It is Thursday, August 25th. If you're listening to the podcast in audio form, as many people tend to do with podcast. If you'd like to see my floating head in my downtown fake home, as opposed to my uptown fake loft that I used for fantasy football today for HQ purposes, I'm building my bookshelf. It'll be ready soon. Anyway, youtube.com/pick6, where we're live every day at 1 p.m. from now until the world collapses in on itself and everyone perishes. Joining me to talk about the futures for the 2022 NFL season, Tyler Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully. What's up, buddy? How we doing?
What's up, Will? How you doing? I'm going to miss the grand piano when it's all over.
I am too. Maybe I'll buy a piano, a tiny little piano to put
nice little nod. Yeah. What was?
I see some notes. I see some notes on here from Debo. I don't know why there's award. Well, I probably shouldn't. I think this is like some back end notes that he's trying to remember to do on our rundown. I don't like the word award acceptance though. It's not good for the old ink. Anywho, football season is finally almost here, and CBS Sports Football Pick'em is the best way to step up the competition and fun. Run a custom picks or survivor pool with friends and enter our CBS Sports Challenge for the chance to win guaranteed weekly and season-long prizes, plus the $100,000 jackpot. Get started now at cbssports.com/play or from the More menu of the CBS Sports app. Once again, that's cbssports.com/play. For the CBS Sports app. No purchase necessary. See rules for details. Link to join the Pick Six podcast pool is in the description. You gonna get in there, Sully? You already in there?
No, I'm not in there yet. I'll jump in. Although I was in there last year, so I don't know.
You're probably still in, yeah. If you're in, you have to get thrown out or actually leave to not be in there.
Okay.
Because I run a bigger one with my friends and stuff, and it's the same sort of setup.
Okay.
Gotta be tossing people out. So we're gonna do divisional futures. We're going to sort of make our picks, because I think the Packers are going to win the NFC North. Not to spoiler alert, but I'm probably not going to bet them at -170.
Yeah,
or maybe a better example, the Buccaneers at -280 is just not bettable.
No,
but although maybe we think that we'll see if there's other value available
right
in these divisional futures. Okay, we'll start. As we always do. I know. I guess we're not as we always do. Usually we start in the AFC East. We'll start in the NFC East this time.
All right.
America's least favorite division. The division that the NFL feels compelled to continually throw onto primetime games, as if we want to watch Washington and Dallas play again. Get it through your thick skulls, NFL. We don't want them. We don't like them. Dallas Cowboys are the favorite here at +130, although not a substantial favorite. The Eagles check in at +155. The Commanders at +575. And the Giants a whopping 8-1. So, Sully, I'll ask you first. Who do you think wins this division?
For me, it's the Eagles. I just think that they are a more well-rounded team defensively, offensively. And it really just stems around Jalen Hurts, right? If he is making the strides that we've seen this preseason, if that bleeds over into the regular season as a passer, well, then I don't know how you stop that, especially with Dallas now dealing with injuries and we don't know what CeeDee Lamb is going to look like as the number one wide receiver. And
he's going to look great, but
more importantly, what's going to look at the number 2 spot, obviously with Michael Gallup not being the number 2 guy. Can Dalton Schultz be that or whatever? So for me, I just like Philadelphia much more, especially if Jalen Hurts is continuing what we've seen this preseason.
Yeah, I'm picking Philly to win too. And so obviously both of us believe that Philly is a good value bet. If you think Philly is going to win the division, you should probably bet them now, because this number has only gotten smaller as we've gotten closer to the season. And if they're, I guess you can, they're probably not going to leapfrog the Cowboys. That's just sort of not, it's not how it works. But if they could easily start, at Lions, Vikings, at Commanders, Jaguars at home. If they started 4-0, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
No, not at all. And so really, like I keep saying, it goes back to Jalen Hurts for me. That's the biggest bellwether in terms
No
of
doubt about
how we're gonna look at this Eagles team. And if you're someone who's bullish on them, I mean, you should really start looking at like bigger futures for them, because if all of a sudden they get premier talent out of the quarterback position, they have the weapons at the skill position players on defense to really make noise in the NFC, where they're 11-1 to come out of the conference.
Yeah, and if you listen to this podcast, fairly often, then you probably already jumped on the Eagles, because I took them when they took Jordan Davis and got AJ Brown in the draft. I took them to win the division. I took them to win the conference and to win the Super Bowl. Could the Cowboys win the division? Absolutely. Cowboys are not, the downgrading of the Cowboys, which I am absolutely guilty of here, is probably a bit more than it like we're probably being a bit too aggressive.
Yeah,
with the downgrading of the Cowboys, they're just not they're not very compelling to me. Like, is the defense going to be a top 5 unit again? Because the offensive line is certainly had some attrition. You've got the wide receiver position, as you point out, is, I mean, the Amari Cooper trapdoor in the contract and then the ensuing trade now looks a little short-sighted. Because if they still had Cooper and Lamb and Schultz, I'd be fine with them. But I just think I Mike McCarthy.
I think that for me is the biggest piece of it too. Like, defensively even too, they still have great pieces. Obviously, Micah Parsons going into year 2. Like, you're pretty optimistic
Marcus
about
Lawrence.
you're pretty optimistic about what they have going on. But there is the question of the coaching situation and whether or not that's going to be an Achilles heel for them. And then when you start looking at the Eagles, they seem a little bit more put together, and
there's more depth. There's more depth. The Eagles look a lot to me like a lot more like the 2017 Eagles than. Or, I mean, they just look like they remind me of the depth on the offensive line and the defensive line there. Now, it doesn't mean that they might not need the depth. Doesn't mean that it, it actually helps them. But I like Philly more than Dallas, and I'd still take them at plus 155. I can't get excited about the Commanders. 8-1 for the Giants is a little intriguing.
It's interesting in the fact that they have the easiest schedule in the NFL when you look at projected win totals. So but the thing is, for me, Philadelphia is number 2. So I like Philadelphia's rosters better. When you start looking at the projected, win totals in terms of strength of schedule, you lean a little bit more to Philadelphia. But I mean, if the Brian Daboll thing works and all of a sudden, he works his magic like he's done before with Daniel Jones, I guess maybe you can get a little interesting there. But in terms of the last place teams that we're looking at in these odds today, the Giants aren't up there on my list to make that crazy run. It's just not for me. It's Philadelphia by a pretty considerable margin when you look at everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty invested in Philly, so I'll happily sit back and just take and hope Philly wins the division, and actually, I hope Philly wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
it's not a thing I expected to say like 365 days ago. Much like all right, so that's our value for the NFC East. Let's move to the NFC North, where, as I point out, I'm picking the Packers to win the division. Wow, what a shock. Actually, minus 170 is kind of bettable.
Yeah. I mean,
shouldn't they be more than minus 170?
I think that there's a little bit too much being played about the Devontae Adams departure. I think that's what this is all pretty much predicated on. Like, oh, what's going to happen with this offense? You still have Aaron Rodgers and you can spread the ball around. Like, I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs are getting docked as much as for the departure of Tyreek Hill. I know they're different players and stuff, but I'm just saying, you lose a Pro Bowl, all pro type of wide receiver. I feel like the Packers are really getting dinged. And it's just, I don't know if it's going to make that much of a difference. And I'm not trying to belittle Devontae Adams, but at the same time, he is a wide receiver. It's not like they lost the quarterback. It's not like Aaron Rodgers retired and they're going to Jordan Love and it's a totally different situation. I have relative faith that Aaron Rodgers will be able to figure things out offensively, whether it's Romeo Doubs or Dobbs or whatever we're calling him today, and Sammy Watkins and all those guys. I feel like he'll be able to piece it along.
Yeah, I agree. Or how about Aaron Jones, just a monster in the pass game?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so since 2011, so 2010. Yeah, I guess we'll start since 2000. Well, no. Since the Packers won their Super Bowl, the only Super Bowl in Aaron Rodgers' time, they won 4 straight. Then the Vikings won in 2015. In 2015, Aaron Rodgers did play all. Aaron Rodgers actually won MVP. No, 2000. Oh yeah, sorry, no. Yeah, they went. He played all 16 games, but he had a very He's only completed 60% of his passes. Man, weird year. So Aaron Rodgers had a disastrous year. 2016 Packers again. 2017 Vikings win the division. Rodgers only played in 7 games that year because he got injured. And then in 2018, the Bears actually won it in Matt Nagy's first year, which is like crazy to say as well. I think that was the final year of the Mike McCarthy run because they went 6-9-1. And in the ensuing 3 seasons, they've gone 39-9 and won the division 3 straight times. Obviously, Rodgers has 2 MVPs. Of course, the Devontae Adams thing is standing out to everybody. I get it, but like, this is still a really good team that won games without Devontae Adams. Rodgers has great stats without Adams. They run the ball very effectively. Matt LaFleur is an excellent coach, and they have a lot of talent on defense. So I wouldn't want to lay 170 at this point because you have to. Although some books, I had it last year where when the division was clinched, they actually paid it out, which was
Nice.
pretty cool. You may have to, if you do it in Vegas, you may have to wait, or do it legally, you may have to wait till the end of the season to mail in your ticket. So I don't know if I'd want to lay like $170 to win 100, for that long a period of time.
Right.
That's sort of that's maybe the only hang up is that you got to tie up the money. I actually think there's a little bit of value in the Lions, but maybe 9-1. It feels like they should be like 13-1 and the Bears should be like 25-1.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. If anything, in terms of what we like for value, for me, it's the Vikings, just because there is the realm of possibility where the floor does fall out of this Packers offense. I mean, we don't expect that, but there is the possibility that happens. And on the flip side, this Vikings offense could go nuclear in 2022. I mean, it really could under Kevin O'Connell, a head coach that actually likes his quarterback, Kirk Cousins. This time around, you have Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. Like, there are pieces in place where if they start adopting a Sean McVay style offense, which obviously that's where this is coming from with Kevin O'Connell, you could really see some numbers really pop off. And all of a sudden, if these turn into track meets with the Packers and the Vikings, there might be more ammunition on the Vikings side than there are the Packers side, even though they have the better quarterback.
By the way, I was watching. So this is like kind of random, but it's not random. So say nuclear again.
Nuclear.
Yeah, you and I say the same way.
Okay.
Nuclear. And there are a lot of people out there that have a problem with this.
Really?
Yeah, I've actually gotten emails and like DMs about it.
Minority?
Well, I think I don't know. I was thinking about it. So the reason I was watching there's like 5 million Adam Sandler movies on Netflix now.
Yes, that's true.
And like some of them are actually like they're really stupid, but like really good. Like, have you seen the one The Do-Over with David Spade?
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Highly recommend it. It's stupid but very entertaining. Essentially they you know what, you can I don't want to spoil the plotline.
Sure.
Of an Adam Sandler movie. But so at one point somebody says nuclear, and there's another person, like a scientist in the room, he goes, nuke-you-ler. Or like, in other words, like it's
oh yeah, okay.
But I've gotten emails and DMs about this. They're like, somebody's like, you're a smart guy, but you just got to figure out how to pronounce nuclear. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not going to change the way I say nuclear.
Yeah, now I'm going to be so in my head.
I know. Well, that's why I brought it up, because that's where I am. Because I feel
like if I say like, oh, they're going to go nuclear in terms of like an offense, that's how I would say it. But if I said nuclear bomb, I'm saying it a little bit more stretched out. But I don't know if I'm just saying that right now.
I don't. Yeah, it's like, I'm not describing physics here, pal. I'm talking about like they're gonna go nuke. Like,
I'm talking about Kirk Cousins possibly throwing a lot of touchdowns.
Right, exactly. So I don't know. I was just surprised that, like, I guess people are really bothered by this.
Yeah, that sounds like something the internet just decides to get annoyed about.
Yeah, exactly. But they nuclear. However, the United Kingdom is pronounced nuclear. Whatever. What we're doing here. So yeah, I could be talking to the Vikings not being a bad bet.
Yeah. And for me, if we're talking, general futures, obviously we're focusing more on the divisions, but I've been hammering this one home all off season. I have it I've bet it a couple of different times this off season. The Bears to be the Bears to be the lowest scoring offense in the NFL.
Oh,
I keep hammering that one. I don't know what it is right now. I can
should be like minus 200.
For a minute there, I've gotten a few times this offseason where the Texans and the Falcons have been ahead of them. They've had the third worst. And so, I just feel like after,
Bears
again,
are
what
so lethargic.
we've seen this offseason, that offensive line, and, I know Darnell Mooney's interesting from a fantasy perspective in terms of like just the target volume, but that's really about it they have in terms of offensively. I know, to me, it just seems like that's going to be a very low scoring offense.
Right. It's some people, there's a theory that certain otherwise educated people choose to say nuclear. That's what it is, nuclear. Is that correct? I think it's nuclear.
Nuclear. Well, now I don't know which way is up. I can't even.
Just close your eyes and just say it.
Nuclear.
I can't say it either. Okay. Oh, Mark H in the comments says, "I worked on nuclear submarines, and you pronounce it the right way." Oh,
well,
so what are these people?
So
we're
going. That's where we're going. Come on, we got a submarine guy over here, so we're good.
Also, that's pretty freaking awesome.
I know, seriously.
I assume. I mean, thank you for your service. I don't know.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, sure.
I would assume so. I don't think they let. I mean, I guess some civilians have to be involved to the building of nuclear submarines. Yeah,
we'll throw them in. That's totally fine. Anyway, I'll give it to him.
I watched Hunt for Red October the other day.
Ooh, I like it.
That's the closest I can come to nuclear submarines.
Yeah. So right now, I mean, I only have it at DraftKings just because I don't have it at. This is where I have it. The same thing. Falcons plus are 5-1 to be the lowest scoring offense. Houston Texans plus 500, 550. Houston, the Chicago Bears 6-1.
Yeah, 6-1's a good bet for the Bears.
So that to me is the one that I really like to chew on in this division. In terms,
you couldn't pay me to bet on the Bears at 13-1. This is terrible odds.
No.
All right, moving along to the NFC South. Oh boy, your man's has got a large future of the. What did I get the? I hammered. I mean, I have a big bet on the Buccaneers to win the division at like. I don't remember exactly what I get. I think it's like even money, basically.
Yeah.
When Tom Brady retired.
Okay.
And when it was announced that he was coming back, it was just like immediately pounce on. Like I slammed the Bucs to win the division, like max bet it to win the division because it didn't, like
it was slow to update, or they.
Yeah. I mean, even if it was like 5 minutes, like it was like the first thing I did. It's like, hey, we got an emergency pod. It's like you're gonna have to give me 30 seconds. And I took them to win the NFC as well. I mean, no bleep, Sherlock. Like, don't bet the Bucs minus 280. Like, that's just too much to lay, especially given all the injuries they've had recently. I think there's some value here on this division at this point, just because of all the offensive line injuries, sort of the struggles of the Bucs. Tom Brady's been missing. Are they probably going to win the division? Absolutely. Are they definitely going to win the division? No, I wouldn't say they're definitely going to win it. Like the Saints at 3-1 are very interesting. I think I probably need like 15-1 to get in on the Panthers, but I'm kind of intrigued by them at 11-1. Yeah, you can't touch the Falcons at 35-1.
No. I mean, we're just talking about them. They're currently the favorites to be the lowest scoring offense in the NFL. You're not picking them to win the division anytime soon. But when you look at the Buccaneers, I mean, you just can't bet that, even though they are the logical pick to win a division. But there, like we're saying, there is a world where this kind of doesn't really work out for them. We talk about the offensive line. Even before all of these injuries, the right guard, left guard, and center spots were all going to be different going into this year. Obviously, Ali Marpet retired, lose Alex Cappa in free agency, and then Ryan Jensen goes down with the injury. Like, you're already starting to have a huge shakeup, and even Tristan Wirfs was banged up at a point this summer too. So you're talking about when Tom Brady came back, a total from his hiatus, not retirement. You're looking at a total almost revamp of that offensive line, and specifically the interior. What has been the book on Tom Brady throughout his entire career is, I mean, it's like every quarterback, but you pressure him up the middle and he kind of will be quick to bail out of the play, whether it be, throwing it away, throw it in the dirt. He will bail out on it. So when you look at like week 1 against Dallas, what's stopping Micah Parsons and the Cowboys from just rushing up the middle every single time and wrecking Tom Brady on a given snap? And so that's the mold there. If you're someone who wants to bet the Saints here, it's, if things go awry, they just can't block anybody up front, and a 45-year-old Tom Brady gets hurt. And, that's kind of the way you play it.
Or like, you pointed out on the podcast a few weeks ago, it was like in 2019, Brady was talking with the Dolphins, and in hindsight, it's like, oh, this dude was just probably checked out for much of the season, especially when, he had all these like a lack of weapons. He knew he's done in New England. It's sort of depressing to be wrapping up your career with, as the greatest football player of all time, with the only team you've ever played for where you won 6 titles, and maybe he's like, he's just getting pounded, and he's like kind of checks out with, Todd Bowles as the coach and receivers banged up. I mean, I think that's like, I mean, nobody wants to question Tom Brady's motivation or desire to win football games. Like that would be a very foolish to do so. But I mean, he did, just take like 9 days off for like a international vacation with his family during training camp. I mean,
and not only that, like again, Tom Brady, we're throwing the caveat out there. There's always he's an exception to the rule almost every single time. But every time we look at these players that like retire but then come back, they have one foot out the door, and then they're like, you know what, I'm going to make it one more year. That following season, that season always is underwhelming pretty much all the time, right? It always feels like when they kind of flirt with retirement, but they're like, you know what, let me just roll back in. It's always underwhelming. And again, Tom Brady could buck that trend, no doubt about it. But when you talk about that type of mentality, when you have this, like we're talking about, if he's getting banged up and just absolutely destroyed middle of the season, he's going to be thinking about that Fox contract. And it's just going to be like, you know what, let me just start thinking about my broadcasting career. Let's get this cushy gig going at this point. Like that is a possibility of what you're thinking about.
And maybe the Masked Singer,
And of course. I mean, yeah, who could forget? But that's going to be the Super Bowl halftime show, right? Like
that's right. That's right. So I think that I would be, if I will probably dabble in this a little bit with the Saints and the Panthers before the season kicks off, just because I have that Bucks future at like basically even money. So I mean, I will probably just saw off a little bit of the Bucks just because I'm a little worried about the Tom Brady factor. But I don't think I sure as hell wouldn't pick, and like Ryan Wilson's picking the Saints to win the division. You wouldn't catch me doing that. I'm picking the Bucks to win the division all day long.
Yeah, I'm picking the Bucks, and then value-wise, I think the Saints are super interesting, especially, I know Michael Thomas is dealing with a hamstring injury right now, but everything leading up to that was Michael Thomas is back. He is the same guy, all the reports out of camp. And if James is healthy, he was above 500 with them last year, so it's possible.
Yeah, I'm not as bullish on the Saints as some people, but I get it. I understand why there's interest in it. Okay, finally in the NFC, we go to the NFC West, which I somehow can't find on my computer. There we go. The Rams. Pretty obvious that Debo's call has started. Let's so the Rams are plus 120. The so I'm talking to you about a move to the NFC West. The Rams are plus 120. The 49ers are plus 180. And the Arizona Cardinals plus 350. And the Seattle Seahawks 18-1. I think I'm starting to fall in love with the 49ers. And RJ White was on here earlier this week and said that that's one of his best bets, 49ers to win the division at plus 180, I believe. I mean, he took the 49ers basically at every stop. He loves the idea of Trey Lance, and who can blame him? Trey Lance is extremely intriguing. You'd like to have 2-1 there, but I think plus 180, they came close enough to winning the division. This was just a dogfight last year with all three of those teams. And Seattle, we think, is probably going to be sort of a speed bump. Maybe a little worried if Jimmy Garoppolo goes to Seattle if you're San Francisco because you get the revenge game there. But I like the Niners as value here for sure.
Yeah, I like them.
I think I'm going to pick them to win the division, even though
okay. They're on the same page. That's exactly what I was going to say. I like them as value, but I also like them to just straight up win this. I'm concerned about this Matthew Stafford injury.
Elbow discomfort.
They're talking about it like it's a baseball injury, and it's uncommon for quarterbacks. And so whenever you hear like this is a different sport type of injury, it's totally uncommon. The alarm bells start to ring. Not only the fact that you do have a Super Bowl hangover, like there is something to be said for teams not being able to kind of get back there and win in back-to-back years. Now, they could still, obviously, we've seen teams have, still have success after losing.
You can still win
the Super Bowl.
Yeah, for sure.
But, for me, the 49ers are ready-made. They were in the NFC Championship a year ago. They were a play away from really, making huge noise. And they theoretically, I guess in their minds, improved a quarterback. Like, we'll see what Trey Lance looks like, but from everything that they're doing, They've traded up for this guy. They're moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo. They feel like a team that just got better at the most important position. And so I don't know how you ignore that when you're looking at these futures bets.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I love the Rams. I do. I mean, they're the favorites for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There's probably not a way you can do it where you make the math work where you just bet. I mean, I think one of the Rams and 49ers are winning.
Yeah, I can't see the Cardinals right now. Obviously, Seattle with their current quarterback situation, I can't see.
The problem is, like, you can't put. So if you put a unit on each one, and the Rams win, you'd win $20 right? Or 0.2 units, I guess. If the 49, if the Niners won, you'd win what, 0.8. So I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's like you kind of just have to pick one of these two teams, unless you think the Cardinals or Seahawks are going to do something crazy, which I just don't. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins suspended. Obviously, the Seahawks are totally rebuilding, or not totally rebuilding. They don't know Russell Wilson. I mean, they're trying to figure out the quarterback situation. So it's one of those two. If Trey Lance is great, then the Niners I think will probably win the division. If Trey Lance is very volatile all year, then I think the Rams probably take the division.
And if you're looking at something else to try to make this decision, because again, it is relatively close, the Rams have the second toughest schedule in the NFL this season, while the 49ers are 13th. So they have the 13th easiest schedule. So there's a huge swing there.
Right. And again, like the Stafford stuff and that scheduling stuff, that's why the Rams are plus 120 and not like minus 125 or minus 110. Okay. So we both agree. We got a little bit of lockstep there on the NFC side of things, right? Do we pick we picked all the same teams to win.
Yeah, we're relatively the same. Yeah. I think I'm a little bit more into the Saints and possibly Vikings than you.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think
that's where we're at.
All right. Well, let's take a break. And when we come back, we will cover the AFC next. So we start with the AFC, where we always start, in New England. Home of Sully. Home of Matt Patricia and Joe Judge.
It's quite the trio right there that you just listed.
Yeah. So the Bills are the huge prohibitive favorites. No surprise there. Minus 230 to win the division. I would assume they're going to be both of our picks. The Pats at 4, just under 5-1. Dolphins same, and the Jets a whopping 22-1. I assume you're picking the Bills to win the division.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. Yeah, I mean, the
no
Bills
doubt
are the best roster in football.
They're insane. I mean, you see that game last week where the starters are playing. Like we talked about the Ken Dorsey thing. Like, how's it going to look? 6 possessions, 6 touchdowns. Josh Allen was insane. Like, okay, we're good. I don't really have too many worries about them anymore in terms of that stuff.
I mean, I would even argue that minus 230, if minus 230 is reasonable price to back the Bills. Again, right. The only issue is that let's say you want to win 1 unit, you have to put down 2.3 units that is held until the Bills clinch the division, which probably won't be by Thanksgiving, but could be. And remember, like, this is a Bills team that was actually not favored to win the division late in the season last year because the Pats looked like they had the upper hand after the win game.
Yes, and they were, because there was a period where the Patriots were the number 1 seed. And so,
for sure. Yeah, I mean, so like the Bills are not afraid to drop a couple of games, but I agree that if you have the capital,
they had that weird Jaguars game, if you remember, right?
Yeah, they lost. They scored 9 points against the Jaguars. They lost. Weird. If you have the capital to tie up, like if you have the liquidity or the availability of funds that you don't mind tying up for a lengthy period of time, the Bills are a pretty good bet.
Yeah.
And if you can, I don't know, I can't remember if you can parlay at Caesars. Division winners. Some places will let you parlay. You can parlay at Caesars. Oh, man. So you could do Bills and Bucks. A Bills and Bucks parlay is basically even money.
It's not bad.
Bills, Bucks.
Quickly, what is we're getting a little risky, but what about Bills? I was going to say Bills 49ers.
Oh, actually, let me look. I brought that up actually by accident. Bills 40. You're not a little risky. I like it. It's probably gonna be like 3-1. No, but maybe more than that. 3-1.
All right.
I don't mind that at all.
No, that's fine.
You're basically juicing up the 49ers by taking the Bills. How many could you parlay? Let me see. Let's toss the Let's toss the toss it. Oh, we'll get to that division in a second. I'm gonna throw the Packers in there. Oh man, and then throw the Buccaneers in there. All right, so Bills, Bucks, Packers, and 49ers, 7 plus 766. I mean, I would bet that.
That's fun. That's real fun.
I mean, just bet a unit to win 7.6 units, and you feel like you got 3 in the bag.
Right, exactly. You're just really the wild card there is San Francisco, but as we just mentioned, we like them.
Now, maybe that's where you could do those 3 teams, you do that parlay, but then you do a separate parlay with the Rams instead of the 49ers.
Sure. Yeah.
So if you get all 3 of the heavy favorites, we throw the Eagles in there as well. 5-team parlay, 21-1. Oh man, I wish I had Caesars.
Now we're getting crazy.
I know. I like that. Okay. Where were we? Oh, yeah. So anyway, do you see any value in anyone else in the AFC East? Because I don't, not really.
No, not for the division. For me, at least, it's not the Patriots at all at this period. In the Dolphins, I guess maybe if you want to get really bananas and just say, all right, 2 hits and everything works, fine, I guess. Jets, absolutely not. I mean, they got the quarterback situation's a mess. The roster's not there. For me, if we're looking in terms of just general futures bets in this division right now, and you might just call me a pessimistic Patriots fan or whatever, but the under, if you do that, it's not as good value. If you do under 8.5, it's plus 110.
Oh,
and so that to me is something I'm
8-9 season.
Yeah, that's what I'm hitting. That's what I'm looking at right now. It just doesn't look like a good football team.
Okay, you're out on the Pats.
Yeah, right now for sure. I mean, the offense,
2007 when the Pats were I don't know if people probably don't remember this, but the Pats were kind of playing like possum in 2007.
Yeah,
they weren't using Randy Moss in the preseason. They just weren't. I mean, obviously, a totally different team.
I was gonna say it's not.
I know I'm comparing a apple and a stone slab here. I'm not but I'm just saying I don't. The point being is this isn't oh yeah, maybe the Patriots will be maybe the Patriots will be really good this year. This is I mean, this looks like a real problem.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest thing that I think is somewhat not getting talked about too much is obviously the offensive play caller stuff. That's what we're looking at. Yeah. And we're looking at Matt Patricia being the OC, but in title right now, he is the offensive line coach, and the offensive line has looked horrible every single time they go into 11-on-11s, competitive drills, preseason, whatever. And I wonder, is Matt Patricia spread a little bit too thin where he's running the offense and he's supposed to be coaching the offensive line and it's not really working. And so that to me is the offensive line is where I'm having my biggest concerns right now, because that's been blowing everything up so far.
Yeah. I mean, offensive line is a major factor. If it's not healthy, this team can't do anything on offense. Or if it's not healthy, but if it's not effective, what does this team do on offense?
Right. And so, for me, the combination, I mean, they're already, there's rumors that they're, open to moving on from Isaiah Wynn. And, you're like, okay, well, do you move Owenu over to right tackle? And you just, again, there's a lot of questions there. And when we're talking about a team that, right now, or can they win the division? I don't even know if they can reach their win total. So,
okay. All right. So bet the under at plus money, Sully says, on 8.5. Next up, the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens, the favorites at plus 140. The Bengals at plus 165. The Cleveland Browns 4-1, and the Pittsburgh Steelers a disrespectful 10-1. I'm picking the Ravens to win this division, and I've been saying to bet the Ravens all offseason. And I still think you should bet them at plus 140. I think that's a great value for a team that's primed to bounce back. They are one of my favorite Super Bowl bets. RJ White, we talked about this earlier in the week. I was thrilled that when RJ comes on, and he's here, I had been eyeing a 49ers Ravens Super Bowl as my pick, and he comes on and goes with it. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Are you going the same way? Are you going Bengals? I can't. The Browns at 4-1. Deshaun Watson's playing 6 games.
Yeah, no, it's silly. For me, it's the Ravens. I mean, they're going to see positive injury reduction. All of these guys are coming back. Lamar Jackson, I think the motivation to get a contract if he's not signed by that period is a huge piece to it.
Yep.
And so, for me, it's just that it just feels like this is their time here, and they're playing on it's not a last place schedule, but I think it's a third place schedule, right? What, they didn't technically come in last, did they?
Good question.
Because I think it was a tied record wise, but not.
Let me see.
But they might have won that one out. But still, I just love everything that they're doing in terms.
Either way, they're not playing a first or second place.
No. I think they're actually near a top 10, easiest schedule in the NFL.
They finished last, I believe.
Okay.
That's, I mean, the NFL.com standings has them below the Browns.
Okay. So maybe there was some tiebreaker there. But again, the way that they're bringing everybody back, the secondary is going to be so much better than it was a year ago. Lamar Jackson, obviously healthy. J.K. Dobbins, healthy. I mean, this Isaiah Likely kid, the tight end, is a preseason darling. If he's anything like that in the regular season, him and Mark Andrews are going to be a lethal combo at the tight end spot. Like, that's a good team.
Yeah, I think so too. By the way, I added the Ravens to our parlay here. So we got the Bills, 49ers, Packers, Bucks, Eagles, and Ravens. 52-1.
Ooh.
Like, that's
very doable, though.
Very doable. Like, I mean, obviously the 49ers, Eagles, or Ravens could not win. I mean, any of these teams could not win the division. Like, weird stuff happens, but like, I don't know. Like, those would be my 6 picks for those divisions. Like, I can, where can I get? Can I do Caesars in like Virginia? I might drive to Virginia for like an hour.
I know. I'm wondering if New Hampshire has it. I know they.
I just want to get this. I just want to get like a crazy division bet in.
Why not?
Yeah, put a unit on that to win 52 units.
That's a good.
It's like Aaron Rodgers breaks leg week 1.
Right.
All right. Well, not going back to Virginia. Yeah, I wouldn't hate a little nibble on the Steelers either here.
Yeah, that's the one that I was going to say in terms of value. I mean, from what we've seen so far, we talked about Kenny Pickett too. Like, are they and I think Brinson left, but talking about the Steelers with Kenny Pickett, he's looked phenomenal this preseason, and so at some point they're going to transition over to him. So whether it's Mitchell Trubisky, I know you left. I just kept going with the.
No. I wasn't worried about you.
And so for me, the Kenny Pickett stuff, if he is as good as we've seen with the ones right now, I've said this on HQ. Like, I don't know why they wouldn't just start this train early, unless they feel like Mitchell Trubisky is so much better than what Kenny Pickett can bring. I would start the kid immediately. And so all of a sudden,
but the only argument for it, and I made this on HQ yesterday, is that if you go with Kenny Pickett and you're losing a lot of games, can you bench him for? Like, do you want to bench a first round rookie quarterback midway through his first season? Because it's
that's true.
You either have to go you have to be like, if we go with Kenny Pickett, he's the starter for the season, and Mitch is just barring an injury.
You cut him almost. It's similar to what what New England did last year with Mac Jones. It was stunner. Mac Jones is our guy. We cut Cam Newton. There's no going back.
Right. Yeah, because you don't like you didn't want, like, if Mac struggles at all, like, you can't people clamoring for Cam, or if same thing with like Trubisky, and I mean, like, it's if Trubisky's struggling, it's no problem to bench Trubisky for Kenny Pickett. I think that's sort of the only argument for it.
Right. And I think that there's a scenario where it is easy. You could cut Mitchell Trubisky and still have Mason Rudolph back there. Sure. And he's a Brian Hoyer comp. I'm looking at the situation almost very similar to what last summer was with the Patriots. And I just think, again, if you feel like you're producing at a similar level with the ones with Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky, I don't know why you don't just start the thing earlier. And so the biggest concern for me, you would think it would be the quarterback position, but it's that offensive line for the Steelers. That's the one thing that's going to prevent them from continuing Mike Tomlin's streak of having a above 500 record every single season he's been the head coach. If they can somehow fix that up, they have the defense, they have the skill position players, and a capable quarterback situation for them to.
Yep. No, don't disagree whatsoever. All right. Next up, we got a 16. So we actually have all of our picks for the division in a parlay right now. I looked at the Steelers, by the way. If you add the Steelers,
it probably goes to the moon.
241. Yeah, I don't know. But the AFC South. I mean, the Colts are just the best. Like, I'm just picking the Colts to win this division. And I think most people are.
We've had this. We've done this. We've had this when they were
plus like 125.
Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you listen to this podcast, I mean, again, like, it's getting closer to the season, so we'll repeat, what we think. But we've been saying the Colts are a good bet for a long time. You look at what Indianapolis did trading for Matt Ryan. You know, Alec Pierce looks like he's like a legitimate number 2 for them. So like they might, I mean, if he's a stud and like Pittman has a massive breakout, like that passing game could be really dangerous. Jonathan Taylor, probably the best running back in football, a very good offensive line that should bounce back. I do have concerns about Gus Bradley on the defensive side of the ball. That's a big red flag for me. And then Shaquille Leonard is a little banged. Didn't he banged up?
I think so. Wasn't it like a off season or, you know, summer surgery or something like that? I don't know exactly where he is at this point, but no, I mean,
they're no plans to place him on the pup list though.
Okay. So you're fine there, but they did sign Stephon Gilmore. Like if you're just tuning back in and you're getting your feet wet back in football, Stephon Gilmore on the Indianapolis Colts. That's obviously a plus for that secondary. And so, yeah, they should be the favorites. I mean, I think like we were saying, we sniffed this out right around the time the schedule came out too, when we were looking at these odds, and this kind of felt like, you know, they were being undervalued, and the market has kind of corrected itself to get them back up there as the favorites. The Titans, I think a lot of people feel like are going to take a step back this year. I'm one of those people. I think that downward trajectory of Ryan Tannehill is going to continue. I think that the turnovers and the hype this summer about Malik Willis and all that stuff is going to really fight against his production this year. I don't think he's at risk of losing his job or anything, but I think that he's at the risk of losing his job for 2023 if he has another bad year in 2022.
Yeah, I have no doubt about it. And I think it was Diana Rossini who reported that, and she's usually pretty spot on with the Titans stuff. She reported that this is Ryan Tannehill's team, like he's the guy. And I do think that's the case. I mean, I think they want to give him the season.
There's any risk of it this year. I don't.
Yeah. As far as value, I mean, I still think there's some value on the Colts at minus 125. It's a little rich, just because, you know, again, the Gus Bradley thing, you know, unknown exactly how Matt Ryan transitions, although I really don't think it'll be a problem. You know, we saw a lot of success. And look, I don't want to disrespect Tennessee. Plus 170s, I mean, that's gotten pretty deep, you know, considering they were like minus 110 not that long ago.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel's a great coach. I mean, he got them to the number 1 seed without Derrick Henry last year, and Ryan Tannehill and like minimal weapons. I mean, AJ Brown was banged up. Julio Jones didn't do anything. So it's not quite, I don't think I want to take it at plus 170, but it is at least like a little eye-opening considering, you know, how well they've done under Vrabel. I think the Jaguars at 6.5 to 1 is probably a bet for me.
See, this is where I'm excited about this, because if you are going to sprinkle that plus 650 on the Jaguars to win that division, I would use that money elsewhere. I would bet Doug Peterson win coach of the year at 20 to 1.
There you go.
Because those things are so connected, it's not even funny. If all of a sudden the Jaguars win the division and they're in the playoffs,
Jags can finish second and he wins coach of the year.
So exactly. So for me, this is where you kind of have to shop around and kind of have, you know, the galaxy brain a little bit, where, all right, if you want a value play here, the Jaguars, well, okay, play it out. They win that division. What else happens? That means Trevor Lawrence probably has a really good year. Maybe Travis Etienne has a really good year. You look at his comeback player of the year odds, or you look at the head coach, because there's already going to be this narrative of going from Urban Meyer to Doug Peterson that I think is going to get Doug Peterson votes as long as they have their heads above water. Like there's going to be some momentum for that, just because there's the disdain for Urban Meyer and how that thing went last year. And so if all of a sudden you're talking about them winning a division, that's a slam dunk coach of the year award. And you, instead of putting it on plus 650, you have a 20 to 1 ticket.
Yep. I think that's a great point. It was a point I was not prepared to make. You had it all in the notes. You were like, you got all excited. I like it. You're not wrong.
I was ready to go.
Yeah. It's more about me taking one of those weird stances where I'm like, I think the Jags could win. Like, I legitimately do think the Jags could win the division. It's such a down division. There are, and it always is. And the Colts are a steady team, but the Jaguars have talent, and it's basically a gamble on the upgrade from Urban to Doug Peterson, which from Urban to Doug Peterson, which I think is massive. Like Urban Meyer was probably the worst hire in the history of professional football.
Yeah, it was really bad. And then when you look at the prospect that is Trevor Lawrence, I mean, it's not unfair. I mean, we put him on the same pedestal as Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, John Elway when he's coming into the league. And if we just stay in this division and keep that same kind of look at the prospect, Andrew Luck was in the playoffs, was taking a horrible, horrible Colts team and was taking them to the playoffs and being competitive. And I think he was in the divisional round his sophomore year. I think it was incrementally, like, you know, wild card, divisional, and then AFC championships.
Yep.
If all of a sudden Lawrence gets back on track and is that generational kind of guy and can lift that organization up, it's a much more talented roster than what Indianapolis was dealing with back then.
No doubt about it. So yeah, Sully's point about the value elsewhere, like Doug Peterson, Coach of the Year, is a good one. Like, if the Jags win the division, he's getting Coach of the Year,
no doubt.
Like it's over, right?
Like, even if, I mean, you know, you're talking
if the Bills went 17-0,
right, and all of a sudden they're the number 1 seed and it's like a runaway, then
I don't know. They're like it is a 17-0 Bills team definitely like more. Is that more impressive than a like a 10-7 Jags team? I don't know. I mean, the Jags have like been in the playoffs once in the last like 20 years.
Yeah.
All right, AFC West. I should throw the Colts in our parlay too, right?
Sure.
Colts. Whoa. Why did that skyrocket? That what?
I think it's probably just the more teams. I mean, obviously, the
7-leg parlay, 94-1.
Okay.
And I mean, we're only talking like nothing above 2-1. Spicy little meatball.
I'll start looking at beach houses.
That's right. Oh, and then now this is where it gets interesting because this is obviously probably the toughest division to predict.
Yeah.
I will go and tell you, and there should be no surprise again to anyone who listens to this podcast, that I'm picking the Chiefs here at plus 175. I think their value, and I think they win the division. I think the additions by the Chargers and the Broncos and the Raiders, all very impressive, very exciting, fun new toys. But give me the old classic, like bicycle. You know, like you can have your little rollerblades and your, you know what analogy I'm trying to make here. But like basically, give me Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And for as long as those two guys are in KC, if they're getting up to almost 2-1 to win the division, I want some of that. I will probably be very heavy on the Chiefs. And if for any reason this gets like higher during the season, I'll be nibbling more as the year goes along.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Chiefs. I look at them. It's funny. I mean, I look at them very similar to how the NFL world used to look at the Patriots with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. It's just, all right, well, you never know. This could be the year they actually don't man it. Look what everything's going all around the league, and it's totally different. Maybe Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, this is it. And all of a sudden, at the end of the year, every single time, pretty much, they're like in the AFC Championship. They're in a Super Bowl. They're hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. I feel that same way now with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Yes, things have gone in and out. They've kind of reshuffled a little bit, but I mean, you look at that preseason game too, you know, last week, Mahomes still looks insane. He's just absolutely ridiculous. You have to, if you think the difference between a Tyreek Hill led team and with the Chiefs without Tyreek Hill or with them is the difference between a Super Bowl, you're very much discrediting the talent that is Patrick Mahomes. Like he is able to spread that ball around like it's like anything. I mean, so for me, I'm just going to bank with consistency. And as much as the Broncos and the Chargers are interesting because of their quarterback situations and how we like their additions and all of that, I'm going to go tried and true and just bank on, you know what, the Chiefs are just going to be that good. They're inevitable. Yeah,
exactly. It's the Chiefs are inevitable is what I'm going with. Yeah. I mean, it's just that. That's just what it boils down to. And so we add the Chiefs to our parlay. I don't think there's if there's a team I would bet on elsewhere on this division, maybe the Raiders. And I understand people like the Chargers and people like the Broncos. And if the Chargers and Broncos won the division, it wouldn't be shocking. But
I mean, that's why this is the toughest division.
Yeah, I mean it's a loaded division. But give me the 6-. If I'm betting anything, I mean the Chiefs to me is probably my favorite division bet out there because you're getting those guys. Like those guys are routinely minus 200 to win the division every year, and now without Tyreek Hill, they're just plus 175. Like that is an overcorrection, largely in part due to the fact that people are loving the Chargers and Broncos and Raiders, and you know with good reason. Like they made great offseason additions, and Russell Wilson could be incredible with Denver. They could also win 9 games.
Yeah,
wouldn't that shocking? So we add the Chiefs to our 8. So we have an 8-leg parlay. And what do you think our total? We have the Bills. Let's see. No, we have the 49ers, Packers, Buccaneers, Eagles, Bills, Ravens, Colts, Chiefs. What do you think our parlay pays out?
Well, I'm trying to remember what you said before. Was it like
261-1?
All right.
Yeah. I mean,
like we're saying, we're not reaching. It's not like we're throwing a Jaguars in there or Raiders in there to spike up the number. Or it's
No,
very doable.
it's not. It's just not that. And it's none of it's. We have one, two. Yeah, I mean we have two teams that aren't the favorite, but we took the. I mean, look, I'm not going to bet against the Bills, Packers, or Buccaneers.
No.
And then the Ravens and the Chiefs are just like plus money favorites.
Right.
So I like this. $100 pays out $26,000. We should probably split one of these, Sully.
I'm down. Let's
find a way to bet it and we'll split it.
All right.
Okay.
Going to New Hampshire this weekend, so I'll see if I can do it.
Yeah, see, check it out. Okay, that'll do it for the show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I can't believe we covered all 8 divisions in less than an hour.
Look at us. Not only are we informative, we're efficient.
If there's one thing that people refer to me as, it's efficient. Punctual and efficient is what I often get from people when they talk about me. All right. That'll do it for the show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hit the subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go vote if you haven't in the podcast awards. You won't see me get a tattoo. For Sully, I'm Brinson. Thanks for watching. We will see you guys later.